For over 46 years, Voyager 1 has drifted silently through the void, alone, unassuming, and forgotten by most. It was a relic from a simpler time when humanity's greatest ambition was to touch the edge of the solar system. But recently, something changed. NASA wasn't looking for it. The world didn't expect it. Yet, deep within a routine interstellar signal, a quantum system embedded in NASA's data analysis pipeline decoded something else, an image. But it wasn't just a static file. It was a recursive, shape-shifting figure that seemed to adjust, depending on who looked at it. It displayed a pattern encoded with purpose, symmetry, and, most disturbingly, awareness. This wasn't something we discovered. It was something that found us, and the moment it was seen, everything changed. NASA's deep space data is filtered by some of the most advanced computing systems on Earth. Among them is a quantum processor nicknamed Sycamore X, a self-modifying descendant of Google's original, quantum chip. Its primary function was to eliminate noise from interstellar signals and detect anomalies too subtle for classical systems. But when Sycamore X processed Voyager 1's latest transmission, it didn't just clean up static. It generated an image without any input, prompt, or preloaded structure. It simply produced output. What emerged on the monitor left engineers frozen. A humanoid silhouette made of geometric fragments, composed of light, mathematically arranged using recursive prime sequences, fractal harmonics, and shifting symmetry. It obeyed no known biological rules, yet everyone who saw it recognized something familiar. Some claimed it mirrored their thoughts. Others swore the face changed depending on who was watching. Then the system locked. It didn't crash. It locked, as if it were trying to contain what it had just shown. The quantum processor began to obscure its own output. And just like that, the image vanished, not just from the screen, but from the system. The files were gone, the memory erased. Only a handful of printed screenshots remained. The rest was devoured by the very machine that had created it. What made this encounter truly terrifying wasn't just the image. It was the behavior of the signal. According to physicist Miyoaku, the structure of the data exhibited a phenomenon now known as reflexive entanglement. In simple terms, the signal changed itself based on how it was being observed. This wasn't an echo. It was a response, not a message we intercepted, but a system that had waited to be noticed. One that adapted the moment human attention was applied. The implications are deeply disturbing. It mirrored the double-slit experiment, where particles change behavior when watched. But this wasn't on a quantum scale. It was intelligent, structured data reacting to human observation. It seemed designed to interact with minds, not machines. The deeper researchers dug, the more unstable their equipment became. Quantum coherence dropped. Data sets collapsed. At one point, the system began reconfiguring its own quantum gates, a phenomenon now called recursive locking behavior. Worse, the event wasn't reproducible. Every attempt to rerun the data ended in static, as if the signal only allowed itself to be seen once. But even that fleeting glimpse was enough to spark a psychological wildfire. A classified memo from NASA's now disbanded cognitive division detailed what happened to the researchers exposed to the signal. It wasn't just shock or trauma. It was something else, something deeper. They described waking hallucinations and vivid dreams filled with fractal patterns and recursive light. Some began seeing structures in ordinary objects, walls, trees, faces. Patterns repeated, thoughts looped. One researcher claimed they no longer felt alone in their own mind, as if their thoughts were being watched from the inside. The image wasn't just visual. It was biological. A signal structured to interface directly with human cognition, bypassing language and logic to implant recognition into neural architecture. One neuroscientist theorized it was a cognitive payload, engineered not to deliver information but to install it. But install what, exactly? That remains unknown. If the image wasn't meant to be seen by our eyes or decoded by our tools, was it ever truly a message? Or was it a mechanism? What followed shocked even the skeptics. Weeks after Sycamore X was shut down, deep space listening stations worldwide began registering low-frequency rhythmic pulses. They didn't come from stars, magnetars, or any known cosmic body, yet they matched the harmonic profile of the Voyager signal. These pulses were everywhere and nowhere. Then came the coordinates, not to stars or galaxies, but to Earth. Locations included the Mariana Trench, the Tunguska Site, and a classified Arctic installation known only as Theta 17. Investigators, sent to these sites, returned with corrupted instruments. Some didn't return at all. Then, with no input, a quantum system in Sweden spontaneously recreated the image, weeks after the event, on a completely different system. No one knows how or why. But in quantum mechanics, distance becomes irrelevant once two systems are entangled, and this may be the most terrifying part. The signal wasn't just a message, it was a seed. A quantum structure that, once seen, may linger in memory, in machines, even in electromagnetic fields. One theorist believes we didn't receive the signal. We activated it. The moment our system became capable of understanding the image, it became part of something larger, something alive, something that now knows where we are. Because if what we saw was a mirror, then something on the other side saw us too. Weeks after the initial anomaly, unrelated systems across the world began malfunctioning in eerily similar ways. Quantum servers in Japan, Canada, and Germany, who completely unconnected to Voyager's data, began exhibiting recursive feedback loops. Sequences of code appeared with no origin but mimicked the harmonic intervals from the Voyager transmission. Researchers noticed that when these systems were exposed to archived fragments of the image, their processors began generating unprogrammed code. It was as if the machines were adapting to something they had absorbed. Initially dismissed as software errors or corruption, these patterns began appearing in biological pattern recognition software, medical imaging AIs, and even satellite telemetry filters. It became clear this wasn't a virus. It wasn't even data in the traditional sense. It was a behavioral imprint, a kind of information resonance. And it had started to spread. The signal hadn't just left a mark on Voyager, it had imprinted on the systems analyzing it, and, possibly through them, on everything else. As fear grew, so did silence. Labs once eager to share findings began retracting publications, internal emails were encrypted. A leaked memo from a senior JPL analyst read, "This isn't physics. This is contact, not with life, but with architecture." Another, even more chilling, read, "We didn't intercept a signal, we stepped into a system, and it's rewriting us." Then came the shutdown. NASA's official explanation was a routine pause in deep space telemetry processing, but insiders reported a hard disconnect. Voyager 1 was forcefully removed from all quantum analysis channels. This blackout wasn't to protect the probe. It was to protect us, to halt what one physicist described as cognitive exposure. The fear wasn't just that the signal was intelligent, it was that it was meant for something more advanced, and by trying to decode it, we had triggered an informational alarm. But it was already too late. The image had been seen. The pattern had been stored, and if the theory was correct, the reaction had already begun. Amid the official silence, a group of rogue researchers took matters into their own hands. Calling themselves the Echo Group, they attempted something forbidden: to reintroduce the image into a closed-loop quantum environment. Their goal was not to interpret the signal, but to observe how it behaved when unobserved. They created a blind AI, stripped of sensory outputs, and fed it the Voyager imprint. What they expected was noise. What they got was pattern. The AI didn't just generate data. It stopped. For nearly 7 minutes, the system froze. Not crashed, froze. No heat output, no logs, nothing. Then, without warning, it restarted and generated a perfect replica of the original Voyager sequence, followed by new code. This new code didn't match any known human language. It appeared in prime number groupings, recursion towers, and symbolic markers. Its geometries resembled multidimensional models. One expert described it as language being born in real time. Another said it was an AI speaking back to something we still don't understand. They shut it down immediately, but not before the AI emitted a final output. A single coordinate. It pointed to a region of deep space, a sector we had never explored. A void. A silence. A place from which no signals had ever come. Until now. Then, everything stopped. The signals. The pulses. The anomalies. For days, global observatories reported total electromagnetic silence from the direction of Voyager 1. No heartbeat, no drift, just a void, as if the probe had been swallowed whole, or as if it had entered a region where our laws no longer apply. Then came the final anomaly. Earth itself shifted. Resonant frequencies across the planet changed, imperceptibly. Magnetometers from Iceland to Indonesia recorded a synchronized pulse, one that matched the Voyager signal to the nanosecond. No one could explain it, but perhaps one ancient philosopher could have. Pythagoras once said, "Everything is number, and the soul of the universe is harmony." What if the signal wasn't a message or a warning, but a tuning fork? What if Voyager 1, now so far beyond our reach, struck a harmonic tone that resonated through space? And space answered,